want you to never watch a video about placing Section 8 tenants again until you watch this video. So let me tell you straight up how the hell this works. So right now, it's supposed to collect well over $3,500 this month just from rentals, but this is a turbo tenant software that's free. I highly recommend it. Allows you to automate everything, applications, everything. So first thing, let me talk about tenants, just so you have a better understanding. One, when you are dealing with people that are often treated like numbers, the one thing that's going to set you apart as a landlord that I've personally experienced is treating them like people. If you treat people like people, they will not treat your house. They will treat your house like a home. Let me read that again. If you treat people like people, they will treat your house like it is their own home. And not in a bad sense, they're going to go and do whatever the hell they want to the home because they feel like it's their own, but they're going to be in a position where they actually value it. They don't fuck it up. So you need to, one, not only make sure that this person is good on paper, like go have a inspection report of obviously their background, their proof of employment, credit. Sometimes they might not be employed, but at least see where their income is coming from. So proof of income, proof of just credit, just show like the credit report, background check, like a wellness check, and then also you want to have an interview. On this interview, you want to make sure that this person does Zoom, right? Because then I'm talking in the sense of you placing your own tenants, because most of the time it's honestly better than some property management companies because some property management companies are lazy as fuck. So when it comes to placing your own tenant, you want to be in a position where you're handling all that through Turbo Tenant, which allows you to literally go give them the fee, collect rents, put the lease agreements. If you want more lease agreements, you can just DM me. I have, residential lease agreement, Section 8 lease agreement, housing, Section 8 inspection, everything, right? But you want to be in a position where you obviously go through all that process where you're checking proof of income, background, credit, all the above. But also when you have this interview, what the hell are you going to ask them on this interview? The first thing you got to ask them is, how was your experience with your previous landlord, and what could they have done to put you in a better position where they made life easier, right? And you want to simplify that. So, like, hey, like, how could your prior landlord have made your life easier, or like how was your experience with them? You want to make it seem like you are not really caring about how they are. You want to see how this person does talk about somebody else to put them in a position where they have housing. The reason why I say that is because you'll see if this person talks bad about somebody else. That's already someone's off to a bad flip. Most of the time, they're not going to do it, but you want to see how confident they are. You want to see if they look to someone when they're, answering the question. You want to see if they stall. Those are all little, tendencies in somebody that's in a position where you know that they're going to lie. And some people, unfortunately, do lie. Before you even get on this interview, I would go and call this person's prior landlords before you even give this person the time of day to get an interview with you, because obviously your time is valuable. So I'll call the prior landlords. Let me take a step back. I'll probably call the prior landlords and I would ask them questions that make them think. You want to make them answer questions that are actually going to make them give you a real thorough response, as opposed to something that they're going to say to get you off the phone. If you say, how was, like one of our tenants' name is Barbara. How was Barbara? They're going to be like, hey, like she was good. She left the place clean. Like basically want you to get off the phone. I would say, hey, look, like what I would rather say, what something you should do is, hey, how long did it take you to get your property rent ready after Barbara left? Now they're going to be like, fuck, how long was it? Like 2 weeks? Okay, if it's 2 weeks, right? Why are you saying that this person left it perfect? Because 2 weeks is a long time to get something ready for someone to move in, right? If someone gets something get ready in 3 days, obviously they move someone in 2 weeks, but it's still ready within 3 days or 2 days, whatever. So that's a question that I would ask. Another question I would ask would say, what was the reason for moving? You want to make sure that the stories align on the lease. And then they say, oh, I didn't tell me. Okay, well then you just say, just carry on to your next question. Another one is, were they always on time with their payments? Because Section 8 doesn't cover absolutely everything, or if you're going private pay. The reason why is because Section 8 will cover sometimes 80%, sometimes 100, but most of the time 80%, and then the tenant covers the other 20, right? So they're giving a fat discount, but you want to make sure they're covering the other 20%. Because you're getting 80%, you're still profiting on the house, but at the end of the day, you want 100% FMR, or you want above that. So I would say always on time. They have a bunch of guests over. How many people were actually staying there? Like on average, like on writing. The reason why is because you want everything to match up. Alongside that, so you ever have any disturbances with people like that in regards to them having parties or whatever the hell that it is? And then the other one is putting the landlord in a position where you say, how did this person feel about having the utility? How did this person feel about having to be responsible for the utilities that you did not pay for them? Like, you do not cover? Because sometimes you'll be like, no, like I don't want to cover any utilities, but you need them to cover the utilities because that is a variable cost. If it's a fixed cost, I would say it's fine to go and cover a fixed cost because you as the landlord is something you're responsible for. But a variable cost, you want to avoid covering those because if someone is paying, um, you know, the gas bill and they're responsible as a tenant, and then they know they're responsible for it, they're going to be very responsible when it comes to turning it off and on because they're the one paying for it, right? If they know that the landlord's paying for it, these guys are just going to blast the heater all night, all day. They don't give a fuck. So you want to make sure the variable costs are not cut out. And then moreover from that is putting yourself in a position where um, you really press that landlord to make sure they give you the right answers. After that, you go to the next part, like I said, be in a position where you go and talk to the tenant directly. Have a Zoom call. Do not do phone call. Not only are you asking those questions in regards to their prior experience with the landlord, what are they asking what they're doing for work, how big is their family, what does their family do, um, like what is your goal with us as a landlord, like really make this person talk because it's not only necessarily the answers that you really care about because it's mostly paperwork and also seeing if you rock with this person, but it's also the body language because if you're doing this virtually, you're gonna have to tell a lot from the Zoom. Like if say, for example, I say, hey, like how long are you planning to stay? And then they're all like, and then they say, oh, like month to month is not the move. Not only because it's month to month and you're gonna have to, be on the verge of someone potentially moving out, but you're also in a position where they're also looking for other people. So that means that there's other people's opinions dictated in this. So if there's other people's opinions dictated in it, and they're not the decision maker, there's a possibility that they may not want to pay the other 20% of rent or the utilities because it's not just them and you're dealing with multiple people on the decision. So they should also be on the call, but it's just a bunch of headaches. You want to make sure that you're dealing with the decision maker. They're not going to look at anybody else. They're straight up like this, the way that I'm talking to you. And they're also in a position where they're not only responding professionally as much as they can. I know it's, unfortunately, Section 8 tenants, so people try to give them a lower name. I mean, a bad rep. But at the end of the day, people are people. If you treat them with respect, you treat them like a human being, they're going to treat you fine. So ask those questions. Like I said, have them talk about their prior experience as a landlord. Ask about their job. How long are they planning to do the job? What is their career goals? Um, Are they planning to make a move in the next 3 to 5 years? Put yourself in a position where you really really press them out, and then also you want to be making sure that you actually rock with them as a person because you don't want at the end of the day you don't want to be in a situation where you have someone that is qualified on paper, makes decent money, or is on disability but still gets payments, and then they're also in a situation where um, uh, like they're rude, they're unpunctual, they don't answer the phone, and that will cause headaches because if you have a Section 8 tenant, you obviously have to have a yearly inspection, and if they're not answering the phone for the inspector to go up, then there's a possibility they might just fail you right then and there, and then that person might be kicked out, right? So you're not going to get a rental payment. That person's not going to want to move out because they're going to say it wasn't their fault. It's not a headache. They need to be answering the phone. Um, you also want to ensure that you are not in a position where um, they like you have like right here there was a little like leak in that bathroom tub, and you want it all through turbo tenant. Do not have them blowing up your phone. If they want to call you out of the blue, say, hey, look, you're gonna have to text me first and then call unless it's fucking an emergency because there will be some tenants that want to call you over every single fucking thing that goes wrong or any single inconvenience, especially if you don't have property management the way that we do. But like the way that we don't have property management, like we have our contractor that does it, but not a 10% overhead monthly fee. So yeah, you want to make sure that you're in a position where you're automating it. Like I said, everything's through there, so everything's documented in case something goes down with the caseworker of the Section 8 tenant. But it also allows you to separate your iMessages from your tenants, and then also making sure that they're not just calling you out of the blue because they will try to call you out of the blue, and you just gotta say, hey, look, I really respectfully can't just answer calls out of the blue because of the line of work that I'm in, and they'll understand if you just tell them respectfully. But a big part of this game is not only the right screening process, but really checking the individual. You mostly want a tenant that is either one. I don't want to sound mess up with this, but you want someone that's like a veteran that's disabled veteran, someone that's just disabled in general, someone that works but has a spouse or a spouse that's disabled or in a health complication or just doesn't work anymore, is retired. The reason why is because people like that or people are not really going to move, so you don't have to worry about them breaking anything or also being in a position where um, you have to get a new tenant. And then the next thing I would say is also someone that kind of doesn't really care about living at the house. To kind of just do their own thing. If you're doing someone that's private pay, like one of our tenants is private pay. She's a nursing assistant, but she works like 60 hours a week, so she's not even home. There's no possibility of her even destroying it. That's a tenant that we inherited, so we wanted to go and do that screening prior to make sure that we're not inheriting a bad tenant. But she really didn't care about like the unit itself. She just wants her kid to be in a good position. It's like a $1,500 a month rental, but she's also, like I said, she's working so much that she doesn't have the energy to even move. She doesn't want to move, and also her line of work is consistent because there's also a medical spot right next to where she lives. So if there's any takeaways that you could get from this video, is one, automate everything through Turbo Tenant. Have a software for it. Do not try to do it all on your phone. The second thing is screen people correctly when it comes to all the documentation, calling the prior landlords, pressing the landlords with real good questions. Obviously, the tailor to your situation. And then the third one I would say is have the interview with the Section 8 tenant, or just a private pay tenant that is going to pay the same amount, to put yourself in a position where not only you seeing how this person is, answering the questions to see if they're lying and if stories match up, but also, like I said, body language, seeing to look around, confidence. If you really rock with them, you could joke around with them. If they're punctual, if they're also, like I said, respectful, and they're not rude. So I would check that. And then the last tip that I'll give you is like, see how well this person does in regards to punctuality for things that do not benefit them. When it comes to them going and paying for the inspection fee, how fast are they paying that? Because you want to make sure this person's not desperate, but they're also putting in the work to go and follow up with you. They're answering the phone because this person, you want to make sure that they're working for it, bro. So you don't want to be just like renting to anybody. You want to make sure that they're obviously not super desperate, but they're doing their part to go and pay the inspection fee because it doesn't benefit them. They pay it. They get you all the documentation. Obviously making their rent payment on time, with the prior landlord, like things that they follow up with you when it comes to you saying, hey, look, I'm gonna email you something. And they say, hey, look, have you emailed it? Those are little things to make sure this person actually cares about this unit, but you have to make sure that's also not, disparity and someone just really want to get into a unit because, they're getting evicted. So watch for that punctuality. If they're fast to do things that do not benefit them, it's most likely a good sign, but it ultimately comes under your due diligence, and make sure that you remove your emotions from this, because this is a logical decision that you have to make, and you don't want to be tied in because you're trying to help someone out that's in a rough position that might bite you in the ass later. You want to be logical about it, don't be emotional about it, and do your own thing. Like this one, for example, tenant was in a rough situation. I thought about it logically. I said, hey, look, if I help this person out, even though a little bit of predicament, there'll be a tenant that's going to sit for a minute. And right now, like, they signed like a pretty big year lease. So, at the end of that lease, just go and get a new tenant. But yeah, I hope this helps. If you have any other questions, just DM me. But I want to keep making raw videos like this to let you guys know exactly how it is with Section 8. So you're sold the dream and believing everything that you see. So appreciate y'all. Keep dropping more YouTube videos and look out for more content. So.